Hey everyone, Roxabox90 here with another EDH Commander Top 10 Countdown, and in this one we're going to focus on the best 10 mono black cards in EDH Commander. And for me, this is in my opinion, obviously, we're dealing with all of Magic, except for the banned list, but otherwise all of Magic, so it's very, very hard to narrow down to what are the 10 best cards, and of course it changes based on situation, but in these videos we're dealing with what I think are the 10 most useful cards in monocolored black, as well as in every other deck that runs black in it. So starting at number 10, I'm putting Hero's Downfall, which I know is a little soon, potentially, just because Theros just came out. We don't know how effective this card is. But 3 mana, instant speed removal that gets rid of a Planeswalker. That's the main reason to mention it. Planeswalkers don't have hexproof, unless you have a spell that gives all permanents hexproof, which there's only a couple, maybe in the whole game. But other than that, this card kills Planeswalkers for 3 mana at instant speed. That is absurd, really, and not just in mono black decks. This card is out of this world in terms of value. It lets you, of course, destroy a creature flat out for 3 at instant speed. So, of course, they play the cheap commander early on to try to get in for Voltron or try to set up utility effects or whatever. This card gets rid of it off the bat. It's super effective, very versatile, very powerful single spot removal spell. And although I'm always careful about spot removal because it often isn't quite as good as a sweeper effect, of which there are several on this list, I still think this deserves a spot at number 10. Number 9, we have Liliana Vess, and I'll just mention that Soren Markov is not on the list because he's a very complicated, controversial card. I personally try not to run him in my meta just because he's aggravating for a lot of players. He often makes the game unfun. I'm going to leave him off the list. Here we're having Liliana Vess. 5 mana for 5, that is also very, very powerful Planeswalker. The +1 disruption doesn't really matter all that much, to be honest, unless it's a 1v1 game, just because they get to choose. It's not in your control, it's under theirs. But the -2, being able to Vampiric Tutor multiple times is very, very effective in a format that's all about tutoring what you need at any given moment. And of course, her -8, if you ever get there, means you likely win the game. So she's a very effective Planeswalker. Then we have, at number 8, Beacon of Unrest. This card is the bonkers. It's 5 mana to take any artifact or creature from any graveyard on the battlefield under your control, and then you shuffle this card back in your deck. So yeah, it's good and bad thing that shuffles back in because you lose the ability to replay it from your graveyard or get it back in your hand. But still, getting it back in your deck for decks that run enough tutors is not such a big deal. And for 5 mana, taking any artifact or creature from any graveyard is huge, especially mid to late game when there's big stuff going on. This card is one of the best reanimate spells in the game, and it's incredibly versatile in EDH. So this is a card I think is fantastic and used in a number of different types of decks, not just mono black. 7, we have Sheoldred, the Whispering one. She is crazy, guys, out of this world. 7 for a 6/6 body with Swamp Walk is already pretty awesome, especially because most of the time you'll have in a multiplayer format somebody else running black, especially with all the shock lands going on in this format, shock lands, dual lands, and the like. This card is often unblockable to somebody. But the real reason you run her is because on a stick, she gives you card advantage and more card advantage. What do I mean by that? She lets you get a creature back every single turn into play from your graveyard, which is constant advantage, especially if you have ETB effects or if you have creatures that can be sacked to do crazy things. She gives it back to you over and over again. Raw value, and then making every opponent at the table lose a creature. It's not destroy, though. It's sacrifice, which means even if the creature's indestructible, even if it's hexproof, it doesn't matter. They still lose their cards. So having basically a mini sweeper effect every single go around the table makes her a huge target because she is a huge target. Awesome. Then number 6, we have Yawgmoth's Will. 3 mana that's flexible, easily put in a lot of decks, that lets you cast, because it's played from as though in your hand, cast any card from your graveyard again. What? Yeah. This is especially important for decks that run a lot of ramp, especially mono black, because if you ramp up 10, 15, 20 mana, you can play your whole graveyard. You can play massive effects. It's crazy card for 3 mana. And of course, if there are ways to use it more than once, this is unbelievable. Number 5, we have Phyrexian Arena. 3 for an enchantment. Beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card, you lose 1 life. This is the meaning of card advantage, and it's used not just in mono black, guys. So come on, give me a break here. This card, every single turn without fail, giving you a draw card effect. It just builds up over the course of the game. Also, it's not a big target, unless you're playing in a meta that a lot of people know this card for what it is. Unless that's the case, this card is going to probably get left alone for a while, and you'll get a lot of cards. Necropones, most people freak out the first time you play it, second time you play it, all the times you play it. So I'm putting this card in at number 5. Number 4, we have Grave Titan. Yep, Grave Titan is beating your face in. 6 for a 6/6 Death Touch. That gives you 4 power in addition to his 6. So you get 10 whole power on the field. And then every time he swings, add 4 power. So he by himself can just swing in and win games, even at a 6 power in a multiplayer game. He lands, you are way ahead of everyone else, almost by definition. He can be splashed into lots of decks. He's as awesome as he was in Standard. He's in EDH. Fantastic card. Then we have at number 3, Living Death, one of the best Wrath effects of all time. Yes, I'm saying it. Unless you have a thing like Sigarda in play. If you play this card right, you'll almost always be the one coming out ahead. Obviously, in various Reanimator decks, various Graveyard Toolbox decks, this card is out of this world. But even in a regular, any deck, this card will likely, if you play it at the right moment, which it's not that hard to do, this card gives you huge advantage because it makes everyone sacrifice their creatures, which means anyone who has Indestructibles, who has Hexproofs, they all go away. And that is what makes this card really, really big deal. Number 2 slot is actually taken up by 2 cards, and this one I really couldn't make up my mind about, guys, so I'm putting them both in. We're putting Decree of Pain and Overwhelming Forces. The reason why is because they're the same mana cost. They're both sorcery speed. They both destroy all creatures, except Overwhelming Forces destroys all your opponent's creatures. So even though you draw a card for each creature destroyed, both of them do the same thing. Destroying all your opponent's creatures instead of all the creatures on the field, I think is a better effect than the cycling. But in EDH, that flexibility can matter, and of course if you cycle early enough on, you can often kill annoying commanders, Kalia. And that's kind of why this card is a real question. But if it was up to me, I would still, I think, put Overwhelming Forces as the number 2 card, just because it is probably the best Black Wrath. Gives you massive card advantage and destroys only your opponent's creatures for 8 mana. Give me a break. Number 1, Demonic Tutor. Yes, the staple is still the staple. This card is run in just about every deck in EDH that has black in it. Doesn't matter if it's the 5th color, doesn't matter if it's the 2nd color, 1st color, no one cares. This card will go in your deck because it is the best tutor in the game. 2 mana, get any card you want without showing it to your opponent and put it in your hand. This card is unreal and it's unbelievable. It's run in basically every deck. It is the definition of tutor. And yes, the deal with the devil, still as good as it's always been. So those are my top 10, in my opinion, for Mono Black. Let me know your guys' thoughts about them below in the comments section, and stay tuned for more top 10 lists. And as always, Roxabox90 signing out. I'll see you guys next time.